Hi there, welcome back to the Kenny Veach M Cave Mystery. Today marks the beginning of a new series within the case where we look at key details and never seen before information, including emails, text messages, the lot. Today we're going to be looking at some news articles to set the story and to reflect back on the past of how the Kenny Veach case played out. Credit to Susan Veach, the sister-in-law to Kenny Veach, who reached out and added in these points and details and material to look at and to put into perspective. I'm going to try my best to analyze it all. Now, don't worry, we're not going to be doing it all in one day. That would be way too much. Need to spread it out efficiently leading up to Christmas. I want to try and get it all done before that. Okay, so welcome to those that are currently here in this live premiere. As you see, same time as usual. I'm probably not going to be here immediately because TV shows are still on, as I've clearly explained beforehand, but eventually we'll get back into sync, hopefully. But for those that are currently here, share your thoughts and opinions in the live chat box, and also shout out to Cleo and Skeptical for their super chats and support on this channel from last night. Very good of them, appreciate it. Okay, I said I will catch up with super chats. If I don't see them beforehand, I'll make sure to acknowledge them the day after or when I get time. Okay, but today marks the beginning of a new interesting series looking at Kenny Veach, the case, how things played out, how it was documented, how it was worded by the official news articles, one ranging from 2014, another 2019. So you get a bit of old and newish, see how it compares and contrasts with one another, and if it follows in line with what we know of, our knowledge, when learning about the case. But to kick things off as the introduction part, Susan Veach wanted one of the messages to be shared with everyone. It's kind of like a checklist of what can be done or what should be done in a series. So it also provides insight to you on what to expect next for these upcoming videos. So the order of how we're going to do things today is I'm going to present to you that message from Susan Veach. Take in mind, there might be reference points you don't understand, but eventually you will do later on down the line, right? It's an overview for now. So everyone is caught up and, understanding what's happening, right? I'll show that to you first. Then we're going to get into the two articles, what we'll be looking at today, and analyze them. And then we'll see where we are and go from there, okay? So let's head on over to the message from Susan Veach. As you can see on the screen is a text message from Susan Veach, and this was sent to me. So this screenshot is from my point of view, in case you're wondering. I wanted to keep the layout around the username, the profile picture there, so you know exactly who it's from. There's no custom font or text because from my point of view on the app, I've kept it default. Sometimes with some messaging services out there, such as Facebook, it allows you to maybe change the color of the background, maybe the color of font, and sometimes you can change the font style itself. Just wanted to explain that to you because I know people in the past doubted and questioned certain conversations, right? I will zoom on in, don't worry, in case it's hard to see. Zoom in just a little bit. That should be clear enough, and we'll start from the top. You go, Susan Veach there, and she says to me, I'm reaching out to you to do a Google Earth search on Sharon Pilgrim's home, possibly checking from November 1st to November 22nd. We have no real proof Kenny even went on a hike, only Sharon's word. And the bit here, what Susan mentions, looking at November 1st to November 22nd, she's referring to the year 2014 when Kenny Veach went missing. The bit about not having no real proof Kenny even went out there on the hike is only what Sharon Pilgrim has said herself. For most part of it, it is from what Sharon Pilgrim has said herself, and from the last conversation she had with Kenny before he went out there and stuff. I get that. The items that were found out there which suggest Kenny went out on there to hike was his vehicle found in the desert, parked up, and his phone near the mine shaft. Is there enough evidence to say Kenny Veach is dead out there or committed suicide? No. That's, my perspective. Okay. Moving on. Sharon says, if my boyfriend, if I was in the same situation, told me he was suicidal, I would do everything in my power to stop him. And if I couldn't, on the third day of not hearing from him, I would be reporting him missing. Sharon Pilgrim waited until the night of November 17th to report him. See a copy of the police report. Don't worry about that. The reference police report, we'll be doing a separate video on that coming up. Be on the lookout for it, okay? So it carries on saying, she had the detective convinced, lock, stock and barrel, Kenny was already dead at this point. The phone was found at the mine on November 22nd. See news articles and email from Craig McVeigh, Commander of Search and Rescue. Once again, those reference points, we will be looking at those news articles. As for the emails, that can be for a separate video, okay? It continues to say, the mine is only hours from where Kenny's truck was parked, about 4 hours. The Nevada magazine article states the trail ended at the mine. Sharon was the contact person, so LVMP got all their intel from her. And by the dates, there was no urgency to find Kenny. The detectives went to Kenny's home and found the computer with help me, over and over. So I do remember that reference. The computer found at Kenny's home with the search result, help me, suggested possible suicidal thoughts, needing a way out, needing some kind of resolve. Does it guarantee, like the form of suicide? Not really. It suggests help me could also be in reference to help me, I need a job, or I need money because I'm on the verge of completely losing it all. Something like that, because take in mind, Kenny, at the time before he disappeared, was willing to sell his own house and himself, right? That's part of the bargain. So it can clearly show that he was desperate in some way. So he might have been trying to figure out other ways to help him in his situation, besides the whole mental health aspect. So quite a bit of this is in reference to the girlfriend Sharon Pilgrim, and some other people with time have suggested that she is a bit of a suspicious individual, possible suspect in some way, that she might know more, that she's playing a role possibly in helping Kenny cover it up, or maybe from the perspective of other people, a darker reason. But we'll try and get into that bit by bit. What we do need to do now, though, is look at the Nevada magazine and the other one and see what the details were. As we do go through both of them, at any point in time, be sure to share your thoughts and opinions, reactions in the live chat box. And if you do notice any mistakes, any misinformation, or any contradictions, similar to the style of the Dylan Rounds case, what we've previously looked at as for news articles, be sure to let me know your findings down below in the comment section. You can leave a timestamp if you want to. So yeah, let's head on over to the articles and begin reading. So the first article, what we see on screen, has never been covered before on my channel. And it's arguably one of the most important and interesting news articles out there, because based on the date of when this was posted, this was around the time of when Kenny Veach went missing and then when he was reported as missing. The dates are very relevant to the case early on. So it will be interesting to compare and contrast the information, what we read here, and how it compares to nowadays of what we've learned along the way. Now, if you can't quite see the date on the left-hand side, 3 News, this news article, Missing Hiker Search, this was posted Saturday, November 22nd, 2014 at 9:18 a.m. GMT. So very clearly, it's close to when Kenny went missing. So it'll be very interesting to see what this is all about. What I am going to do now is go into reader mode because there's a lot of adverts on this website and I don't want to, get involved with them. So there we go. I'm just going to read it out. So the title of this says, Missing Hiker Search, Las Vegas. The search is on tonight for a local man who went hiking in the Sheep Mountains earlier this month and has still not returned home. So when it says is on tonight, I guess this article posted, the date of it is the same date as when the search went underway when looking for Kenny. So the 20th, 22nd of November time. And as said, what we saw earlier on with the Susan Veach sister-in-law pointing out how Sharon supposedly claimed to report Kenny Veach a few days after as missing, but in fact it was many days later. So why the delay and why the lie? We'll get into that into a later video, okay? Let's just read and continue what's mentioned here, okay? So it says, searching for a local man who went hiking in the Sheep Mountains earlier this month, still not returned home. This is in relation to Kenny Veach, okay? And when it says earlier this month, so when Kenny went out there and went missing, going on the hike, supposedly, was the 10th of November 2014. So it is early November time, okay? Scroll on down. It says Jessica, whatever that is. The 47-year-old Kenny Veach told his family he was going hiking alone on November 10th, something he did all the time. I guess that means going out hiking in general. He was due back 2 days later, but after 10 days, his family is desperately searching for answers. That's what doesn't quite make sense, does it? Right? If someone said they're going to go out there, they'll be there for 2 days. Or, 2-day hike, and then a few days later, but then we'll leave it another 10 days and then we'll get worried. I think you'd be getting concerned 2-3 days after the initial return, right? And yet it was dragged out here. Before heading to breaking news, Nathan O'Neill filed this report. If you talk to anyone who knows Kenny Veach, you'll quickly find out this 47-year-old is an avid hiker who rarely takes the easy trail. True. Victoria Veach, Kenny's daughter. We've known her as Vicky Veach. Vicky, short for Victoria. Okay? I think that's the time, 1923, 16 or something. It says, he goes off the grid. He doesn't follow any paths or anything. Goes off the beaten trail, as Kenny described himself. But for his daughter, Vicky Veach, worry has begun to set in. Her father went hiking alone on November 10th for what was supposed to be a short overnight trip. Nearly 2 weeks later, there's still no sign of him. Scroll down, 20:45:19. I don't know how long or how much food he has or how much water he has. Metro officers launched a missing persons operation and the Red Rock Search and Rescue Unit has searched the lower elevations of Sheep Mountain near Joe May Road. It was along Joe May Road where his vehicle was found eventually. David Cummings / Red Rock Search and Rescue. 1:22:14. Does that mean 1 in the morning? We're going to have to go rock by rock, crevice by crevice, valley by valley and look. It's going to be very, very difficult and some of it on the dangerous side. That ground search is about to expand, focusing instead on the high elevations. 7. We are trying to bring some canines in, dogs. We just haven't got them confirmed yet, but hopefully we'll have them tomorrow as well. Still, a main concern is Kenny's access to water, his resources. And as we've heard, when Kenny's gone out there hiking, he's already limited himself with water intake. So the longer you're out there for with the water he has, it would be very dangerous. Then says, he has everything going for him. 5'8", 150 pounds, avid hiker, martial arts guy, survivor. He'll eat a lizard. He knows what plants to eat. And that's what Victoria said or something. What does that mean? Kenny had everything going for him. Well, if he had everything going for him, then why was he willing to sell his house then? Why did he quit his job then? Why did he upload several videos all on the same day for a Shark Tank submission in desperate hopes of being recognised and maybe striking up a deal with somebody out there to become successful and make money, right? If everything is going okay, there'd be no need to sell your house. Maybe you only sell your house is when you need money or when you want to relocate. But as we saw, Kenny didn't want to relocate. Kenny was selling the house with himself as like a servant, which doesn't seem exactly normal unless maybe you want to have a home, but also you're desperate for money to be able to use for survival and other stuff in between. So yeah, I don't remember it ever being worded like that, because all it's come from the likes of the girlfriend was Kenny was suicidal. Kenny Veach had problems. But here, it's saying he had everything going for him, no issues, no money trouble, nothing. Yet he came off and there is, some form of evidence to suggest that he was in trouble with money. Yeah, weird. The bit where it says martial arts guy. I never knew that about Kenny Veach myself. Do any of you? And survivor. Is he classified as a survivor? Does that mean survivor in he's escaped near-death experiences in the past, or just that he likes pushing his body to the limit and being in harsh environments and, sustaining the terrain and the limited resources and managing to get out of it and survive in the end? I wonder. Anyway. Vicky Veach says, I know my dad, total survivor. In the meantime, Victoria confides in hope. Right, so Vicky has a positive outlook on her father, nothing to do with suicide or any issues like that. And last but not least, it says, my biggest worry would be that he's not alive anymore, but knowing my dad, I'm pretty sure that he probably just hurt himself and he just needs help and he's stuck and needs help. Interesting. I mean, people along the way in this case have suggested that maybe Kenny succumbed to the environment, or he fell off a cliff, a mountain, maybe a rock fell on top of him. Stuff like that where he didn't intend for it to happen, but the environment took it out on him. Well, it just happened, natural. It's unfortunate, wrong place, wrong time. And at that point, that's what Vicky Veach was thinking as well. So there's a few details there which I've never heard of before, such as the martial arts thing, that Kenny had everything going for him, that Kenny is a survivor, that he's probably just hurt, injured slightly. I mean, if he was hurt, injured slightly, I just feel like he would have been found by now, or there would be some kind of trace or clues to suggest that. Like some people said, oh, Kenny's in the mine shaft, that's where the phone was, so he must have fell down and got injured. Well, people went down there and looked, no trace of Kenny. And then others, or maybe got injured somewhere over, Wild Horse Pass, or maybe Pitch Canyon. People have been down there and around there. They've not found any bones, no clothing, nothing of like clues or hints to say this where Kenny was, or a rock fell on him. None of that. There's a lack of trace of Kenny in general. And that's what makes us think, well, some of us, was he really there? Or was he only there temporary and left with somebody else, right? So, although this article being limited, it was like an on-the-spot report at the time of searchers being deployed out there in hopes of retrieving Kenny, and Vicky Veach sharing her thoughts at that point. At that time, she was hopeful and positive that he'd probably be okay, and hopeful that he will be found. But 8-9+ years on, well, look where we are. So, to compare this, may not be possible to the next article, but we'll read it out anyway and analyse to see how things were worded and what came out in 2019. As you can see, now we're on to the next. As for the background border, what was on before the reader mode was activated, I don't know if it reminds me of something I've looked at previous, but there's no harm in reading this out. We'll see how things go. Reads, M Cave and the unexplained disappearance of Kenny Veach. So in contrast to what we first looked at, which was more relevant at the time of how things were playing out in the early days of the disappearance, that was about a missing hiker, Kenny, and that was all, trying to find him. A bit of worry and panic. What we have here, years on, 2019, this article is the mention of the M Cave. So you see what came first before the other. The M Cave was then known of after, once people started looking around for clues and answers as to why Kenny was out there and what could have happened, right? This is by Eric Cadchinero. Desert hiker goes searching for mysterious cave, leaving more questions than answers. There we go. We got the typical thumbnail or the photo screenshot from Kenny's video, and you can see it's captioned there underneath, which is good. Reference points. And it looks like the original comment from Kenny Veach. So just scroll down a little bit more. I'll read it out, but just below is the extract of it, right? Posted 5 years ago, as in if you were in 2019 at the time and saw the comment 5 years ago. Hopefully you can see that photo going across the screen in between the paragraphs, and then the transcript of it just above, right? The reason why it's relevant is because some people were asking questions recently of where is this comment, or what was actually said by Kenny himself at the time, where can we see it? You know, the problem is you want to look at the original thing as of, you know, on YouTube, the platform. You can't. The comments deleted. The whole thread is deleted. Why? No clue. It's very strange. But just wanted to show this to you so you can see what it looked like originally. So Kenny said at the time, "That ain't nothing. I'm a long distance hiker. One time during one of my hikes out by Nellis Air Force Base, I found a hidden cave. The entrance to the cave was shaped like a perfect capital M. I always enter every cave I find. But as I began to enter this particular cave, my whole body began to vibrate. The closer I got to the cave's entrance, the worse the vibrating became. Suddenly, I became very scared and hightailed out of there. That was one of the strangest things that ever happened to me." Now, I don't know if there's any more context below, because I'm sure the comment was longer than that. Maybe he ended up responding back to somebody else saying, "I'm going to go back out there." But we'll just analyse what's mentioned here by Kenny himself, right? Long distance hiker, okay, take that into perspective. Is Kenny Veach a long distance hiker, right? What defines long distance? Because when Kenny Veach covered, 10, 11 miles, he was really worn out and knackered, as we saw in the unreleased footage. You want context? Check my shorts page out on my channel. It's all there from part 1 to part 13, okay? So I don't know what defines long distance exactly, right? And people will say, well, doing 10, 11 miles out there is long distance and is demanding, and he did well. Okay, but as I said, he did it previously. He managed. He did it a second time round on his recorded hike from his YouTube channel, yet he seemed worse off for wear on that occasion. So besides factors of limiting water intake, why was it harder on that occasion? That's what makes me wonder. Anyway, anything else to highlight here? Yeah, he says, one time during one of my previous hikes out by Nellis Air Force Base, I found a hidden cave, the M Cave, right? But how? Nellis Air Force Base is on the outer skirts of Las Vegas. It's not in the mountain area. It's nowhere near Jome Canyon. There's distance between the two. I think what Kenny should have said was near Nellis bombing range, Nellis test range, which is highlighted on the maps if you look for previous reference on Jeff Clark's channel and on some of my previous videos. That is within the near to the sheep range, you know, the hike route that Kenny did, basically where the restricted land is, which military own, okay? So I think Kenny Veach worded the description wrong even back then, but, you know, as a bit of misdirection, I mean, we have looked at, you know, previous Google Earth map analysis of Nellis Air Force Base and what is near to the area, and there are other mountains, but Completely different area visually speaking, but you know, in the future, if there's time, we can always return back to that because there was an interesting finding regarding over that way near Nellis Air Force Base, right? But anyway, the description of Kenny's finding of the cave, the entrance shaped like a perfect capital M, uppercase, not lowercase. And of course, we've seen a few of them in hike footage. So he says, normally I enter every cave I find, but this one was different. Vibrations have got closer. He says, I got to the cave entrance, but then I'm sure it was worded elsewhere that he actually went so far in. So there seems to be a bit of discrepancy there, but this is directly from Kenny's mouth, his actual comment. So he got to the entrance, but he didn't go that far in. That's exactly how I worded it previously. So I guess some people have been misinformed with time. So that vibration, that unknown, the uncertainty scared him. He doesn't say directly here if he had protection or not, but I'm thinking a response he said that he wasn't armed. So that's why when he went out on his recorded hike, he took that handgun pistol with him, firearm, for protection. So it increased his confidence. So he wouldn't be as scared. He could defend himself if needed. Anyway, moving on. The context behind that comment, 2014, the words were posted to a YouTube video titled Son of an Area 51 Technician. As said, the comment is no longer there. It's been deleted. Very strange. The man behind the screen was Las Vegas resident and avid hiker Kenny Veach, using the screen name Snakebit McGee. Unbeknownst to him at the time, his comment would set in motion a series of events that would lead to one of Nevada's most puzzling urban legends. Really? First time I've heard it worded like that. Kenny's comment sparked interest like wildfire. After posting his original comment, several YouTube users encouraged hiker Kenny to seek out the cave and enter again, this time documenting his hike and providing evidence of his strange discovery. He obliged. Well, I don't think he was full-on forced to go out there. People questioned him and Kenny wanted to prove it to others, but more so he wanted to prove it to himself too, right? So when the general public do end up going onto his channel and say, oh, because of his fans and audience at the time, they're the ones responsible for Kenny's death. No, it was Kenny's choice and Kenny's responsibility at the end of the day, but set out on the hike. We've got the video there, the context of it. We've seen it several times now. This continues to say, he set off to find a mysterious cave for a second time, armed with a 9mm handgun and a video camera. That description has remained consistent since all the articles we've looked at. Upon his return, because he did make it back, he posted a video of his discoveries. Much to the dismay of those following his claims, he was unable to locate the cave, and his video didn't seem to reveal any clues to the mysterious M cave he had discussed in his original comment. Now, when we look back, it's completely changed ever since. You talk about clues. There was no clues in that footage. Complete BS. There were clues, and there were very strange findings along the way, whether it be directly relevant to the M cave or sub-mysteries, right? So what would they be? The strange sounds captured on camera throughout. The beginning where Kenny's at the mine shaft and you hear a strange female laugh, such as As said, you want reference, go back on my channel. It's my most viewed video, so it'll be easy to find there. A few more strange sounds along the way. The strange paranormal whispers when Kenny Veach goes down Picture Canyon and says, oh, there was a hiker once here. And it says, follow the red tape in whispers. Very strange, right? And even before getting to Picture Canyon, even before passing by Skull Canyon, you got the hot spot where Kenny Veach said, oh, in an area just like here, just like here. Well, that seems like a clue, kind of, right? And it just happens to be a supposed covered up looking M cave. And then opposite that, when he turns around, he says, and we've got this cave here, zooms on in, looks like what? Like a clue, a reference to something he once knew of, maybe. And he seems to stumble and be a bit, I don't know, apprehensive and scared when he's in that area. So I think there are clues along the way which could suggest something. directly related to the M Cave or some other sub-mystery, because other hikers have had strange encounters out there. Jeff Clark experiencing time-related issues where he's been there longer than he really has been, right? Doesn't quite make sense. Time skipping about. SB Vega's adventures and Jay Chuck both hearing strange sounds and whispers of voices when they've been out there by themselves, etc. A lot of weird stuff going on with time, and bit by bit people seem to be experiencing it for themselves, right? At the time, Kenny didn't experience it directly, but we saw, we heard, right? When reflecting back. Moving on. It says, his video was met with much criticism, and YouTube commenters both encouraged and provoked him to try for a third time to seek out the cave. Kenny obliged again, though one comment would stand out amongst all the others as an ominous foretelling. You see the photo down there? Lemmy Kilmister says 4 years ago at the time, relevant back then to when I guess a screenshot was taken. Take in mind the account Lemmy Kilmister does not exist anymore. There are fake accounts, there are imposter accounts and default ones which have no link whatsoever still out there on YouTube. But the original Lemmy Kilmister did delete his whole channel, as others reported over time. I guess because people were reaching out and questioning this strange individual. And why would they be considered somewhat strange? Because of their response. They left a comment either on Kenny's video, Kenny's hike video, I believe it was, or if it was still on the Son of Area 51 technician video in the comment thread, one or the other. Lemmy said, no, do not go back there. If you find that cave entrance, don't go in. You won't get out. See, this is the thing. Okay, it was posted at the time before Kenny Veach went missing. I would say it was a joke comment, not to be taken too seriously, right? Over time, whether it be friends, family members, or others where they could say, break a leg, and then the person just so happens to break their leg literally, it's like, did you put some kind of curse or black magic on that individual? Do you know more about what was going to happen in the future? And it's like, no, I was just casually saying it in a light-hearted way for other reasons. Just like how many people on YouTube leave random degenerative comments, right? The comments only matter to people is when it just so happens to happen in the future when it wasn't actually intended or planned. So I guess with this person leaving that comment there, it backfired. They weren't anticipating the actual outcome of what they said. So then when people started questioning the individual and leaving responses to them on their channel or on other social medias at the time related to this user, they were getting harassed. They thought, oh, damn, I best escape, run away. I didn't want this. I brought it upon myself. So, channel was deleted. Move on. Prophecy? What? On November the 10th, 2014, Kenny set off on his last hike. He told his family he was going for a short overnight trip, though he would never return. His disappearance would soon turn up on a Las Vegas news station, and the search was on. There's about 10 days plus of delays. Kenny was not new to desert hiking or spelunking. He claims to have hiked extensively in the area, even leaving several YouTube comments on the Area 51 video detailing his experience. So this, I guess, is all in relation. These comments, yeah. You see that photo down there and then the transcripts of it above. This is all in relation to the same comment thread as his first comment here on Son of Area 51 technician. So this comment, the one that started it off with the entire thread of what you see here, went all gone, all deleted, because it was a part of the same comment thread. So when the main comment, original comment's deleted, the whole thread goes as well. So we'll just read it anyway. Kenny said at the time, I solo hike across mountaintops that most people wouldn't dare go. I've been in more caves than I can count. I play with rattlesnakes for fun, but this one particular cave was beyond anything I had ever encountered. And another comment he added, I've been doing This sort of thing for over 20 years. I go where no one goes and I never take anyone with me. Kind of a lie, because supposedly his girlfriend Sharon Pilgrim has claimed that we've been on many hikes together. And yet Kenny here is saying, I never take anyone with me. What about when Kenny Veach took his nephew Hunter Veach on a hike? You remember? We saw those screenshots, the photo. You know, we've seen it. It's even posted on Kenny's Facebook page. Unless Kenny here was just referencing his extreme hikes where he didn't take anyone. I'd understand that then. Anyway, Kenny says, at a time, I found schools of all shapes and sizes, and occasionally I found really old animal traps. I hike over mountain top after mountain top and sleep on peaks under the stars. Sometimes I have to scale giant cliffs to get myself out of a jam, but I always make it back. I'm beat up and tired, and my pack is almost always heavier than when I left. I had to be rescued only one time by a helicopter. I had blown out my left leg at the top of a mountain, and I only had a cup of water left to get me 20 miles back to my truck. It was also over 100 degrees out, so I have a very good safety record. But he also mentioned at one point he was bit by a rattlesnake, or a snake in general, which probably led to his username Snake Bit McGee. You know, play on words. So he could be classified as a survivor, as like what Veach claimed back then in 2014, how he injured his left leg. Just so happens that in that 2018 CCTV footage, you see an intruder in the Veach family-run healing store where they stumble about and grab their leg. Is that a reference to Kenny's leg injury from the past where he blew out his left leg? I wonder. Just a suggestion, okay? But the bit where it says he was 20 miles away from his truck, so he did a 20-mile hike there and back. Or that's what he was intending on doing. 20 miles from his truck to a mountain, climbing up it, and in hopes of returning back as well on foot, besides getting injured. So that would be a total of 40 miles. The reason why that's important is because Kenny initially said, fast forward on to 2014, where Kenny said if he doesn't find the M cave, he would then go on to cover 45 miles heading north. Now, was that 45 miles there and then 45 miles back? Or, you know, was it 45 miles for the total journey there and back? Some people have been divided with that. But the reason why it's interesting is because, like Jeff Clark said, that's impossible. You know, Kenny Veach probably wouldn't be able to cover that much mileage on foot. And yet, how it's worded here, Kenny has already done at least a 20-mile hike, wasn't able to successfully complete the other 20 miles back. I don't know if that puts things into perspective. Doesn't exactly say where he was hiking at the time or the weather or the season, but he managed it to an extent. Maybe it puts into a better perspective of him wanting to do 45 miles. Was he really able to do it or not? Or would he have just undoubtedly injured himself along the way, like how he did with a previous hike? Very interesting. Even with his impressive track record, Kenny was at a disadvantage to the elements. He was drunk with internet courage, searching for an elusive cave in the Mojave Desert, one of the hottest and driest regions on the planet. What? Kenny was at a disadvantage to elements. He was drunk with internet courage. Right, so I guess they're not saying that he's an alcoholic, literally, that he's heavy on the drink, the alcohol, just that he's a bit obsessed or addicted to the online aspects of proving doubters wrong, proving yourself, right? When people doubt you and say that's fake or you're lying, and then you suddenly get that urge inside to prove it to them and say, no, I was right. I guess it's worded here that Kenny was very determined, basically. Weird way of putting it. Breakthrough and breakdown. Let's see what this says. In the beginning of the M Cave hike, video Kenny posted before his disappearance. He's standing by an abandoned mineshaft, narrating some information about the cave he's seeking out. It was there that on November 22nd, 2014, search and rescue volunteers found Kenny's cell phone, indicating that he had, in fact, gone out searching for the cave again. Well, you could say, well, just because Kenny's phone is at the mineshaft doesn't mean to say that Kenny actually went out there in possession of the phone to place it there. Somebody else could have done that to make it seem like that Kenny went out there hiking. I guess the only other thing was that Kenny's actual scent was found by dogs leading up to the mineshaft and then faded. So it would imply and suggest more that Kenny was actually there on that day, 10th of November 2014. And fast forward on to November 22nd, 2014, that's when search and rescue went out there. And that's when they found the cell phone. Okay? And his vehicle was found there too, up Joe May Road. Anyway, goes on to say, an article at News 3. News 3, the article, is exactly what we were looking at earlier in this video, right? A certain transcript of it. But here, they actually quote another reference to News 3 coverage at the time of it. The Vegas details, in quotes, we found his cell phone close to a very vertical old mineshaft and we can't find another trail. I guess when they say we can't find another trail, we can't find Kenny's scent going on any further past this point. Red Rock Search and Rescue Commander Dave Cummings told News 3, it doesn't mean that he's down the mineshaft, but we have tracked him as far as we can. We are having our other crews come in from the search areas. Now it's interesting how here it says Commander Dave Cummings, and yet the name mentioned in Susan's comment was McVeigh. Maybe a different person, different role. Anyway, after his cell phone was found, the trail would unfortunately go cold. Kenny was never found, leading to much speculation on how he died. The mysterious circumstances of his death fueled the internet with conspiracy theories of every shape and colour. A little bit far-fetched that. Had Kenny fallen down a mineshaft? Had he discovered a hidden entrance to Area 51? Had he stumbled upon some great military secret? Was the cave connected to aliens? Or had he simply succumbed to the elements? Now, the bit about the mineshaft drags on way too much because it has already been searched. It was supposedly, well, poorly searched by Search and Rescue in 2014 with a camera being sent down. No one actually descended into the mineshaft, just a camera. But fast forward on to 2017, 2018, 2021 and 2022. A range of different people did go down there. Jeff Clark, a group of guys, Scott Natal, SB Vegas Adventures, they all went into the mineshaft, but they didn't see any traces of Kenny. Though, the mystery of the crystal skull was found and documented down there, which was very spooky. Any resemblance or linkage to Kenny Veach, who knows? But it's strange regardless. Moving on. The trail ran cold for some time, until a woman claiming to be Kenny's girlfriend posted the following comment on his M Cave hike video. Sharon Pilgrim, the girlfriend. But then again, it's referred as ex-girlfriend because Kenny said that in one of his videos, previous ones, and also called her a friend. So it's a bit on and off. Anyway, so quoted here, Sharon Pilgrim said at the time, I am the girlfriend that Kenny spoke of in the video. There are so many posts, I had no idea until a friend let me know. So many people are wondering what happened and guessing different things. You are heartfelt about the sadness around what's happened to Kenny. Not been found, and I feel that he probably will not be found for many, many months, if ever. So just, oh well, he's not going to be found, he's probably dead. So ties in with what Susan was saying earlier. I want to share what I know and feel about what happens so that you might bring some closure and understanding in your own lives. So she's saying what might have happened, what I think, not what actually happened. So when people listen to Sharon, you shouldn't be listening to it like gospel, okay? Kenny absolutely loved hiking in the desert. It was his very, very favourite thing to do. We hiked and camped together all over the Nevada desert. despite a 17-year age difference, which doesn't seem to be mentioned enough between Kenny and Sharon, Sharon being much older than Kenny. Sometimes the hikes be 9 hours in a day, right? We found many abandoned mining towns, usually referred to as ghost towns by Nevada hikers. We explored many caves and many mine shafts. We were always careful how we explored them, but Kenny was a bit more daring than I was. We wore snake guards, sun-protected clothing, used walking sticks, brought enough water and food for the hiking hours, and had extra water and food in the car. But obviously, when Kenny did it himself, by himself, that wasn't the case. Really restricted himself. Anyway, Sharon says, I want you to know that I do not think Kenny had an accident. No accident? I believe he committed suicide. He battled depression for many years and would not take medication or see a doctor. He quit his job a little more than a year before he disappeared. And yet Sharon doesn't mention anything here about Kenny willing to sell his house for money. No mention of that. The search for him was started within a couple of days of my call. Was it really? Over 30 search and rescue team members searched 3 different times on foot. 1 helicopter flyover was done and there was no trace of Kenny or any of his camping things. They found his car in the area. I told them it would be. They did find his cell phone by the mine shaft in the video. Mine shaft was only about a 4-hour hike from his car. Yeah, my feeling he left it behind so that he could not be tracked from the GPS in it. He also did not take his video camera with him on his solo hike. It was left in his home, so he had no intention of filming anything. But then there was another response from Sharon Pilgrim in reply to some random user on YouTube mentioning about equipment, and Sharon either said, yes, he did take a camera just for taking photos, not for videos. And then some people are saying that Sharon said, oh, well, I don't know if he did or didn't. So, yeah, it's a mess, pretty much. Anyway, let's just move on so we don't get too confused. She also added, I shared this with you for 2 reasons. First, so that you have more of an understanding who Kenny was and to bring some peace or understanding to the situation. Secondly, if any of you do decide to go out there in the desert to look for him or the M cave, be careful and bring enough water and food. So even at that time, okay, that's Sharon Pilgrim saying, if you want to find Kenny, yeah, you can do. We're not. We've given up. We expect him to be dead. But it's interesting, though, that Sharon is welcoming and encouraging people to look for the M cave. Why? I wonder. Shouldn't finding Kenny be the only important thing and not the cave? Unless you're an outsider interested in mysteries. Yeah, kind of weird that. Right, where are we now? Walking stick, good idea. Yep. Okay, good ideas. Wait, where are we now? Get mixed up. It's so annoying this. Walking sticks are a good idea. Bring some understanding to if you do this. Okay. Walking sticks are a good idea and not doing a solo hike. Bring a GPS and make sure that you have let family or friends know that you're heading out there for a hike. Obviously, Kenny didn't have GPS with him. Where and when you'll be returning. A search really can't be on a 1-day hike. You'd be repeating much of the same hike, just getting up the mountain and then be left with not many hours in the day to do the search. You need 2 to 3 days at a time, and in the summer or even late spring, this cannot be done because of the heat of the desert. You'll not be able to carry enough water, so please be careful. I had many wonderful experiences with Kenny and will always remember them and have a place in the heart for him and wonderful things we did together. I'm healing from my loss and look forward to new experiences with desert hiking, camping and taking beautiful pictures of the desert. Enjoy your adventures of life and thank you for the kind, loving comments. Closure? Question. Is this the end of the comments there? So, was that it? Had the mystery of Kenny Veach been solved? Speculation abounds across internet circles. The story has been scrutinised and investigated time and time again, and so far no conclusion has been reached. Some ventures to guess that Kenny had in fact taken his life and the woman claiming to be his girlfriend was telling the truth. Others insist that Kenny had gone back and found the M cave again, discovering a dark and dangerous secret that lies within. You decide. And that was done in 2019. Be sure to let me know your thoughts as to those articles, especially the 2014 one relevant to the time and what Vicky's attitude and outlook was on the Kenny Veach disappearance situation. A form of hope and positivity, as you would expect, but with time, how did that change? I mean, I guess the only time we looked at Vicky's response was fast forwarding on, at what point, 2021 before that, and after 2018 of the whole CCTV footage situation, where Vicky was saying, oh my God, that does look like Kenny Veach in the CCTV footage. Vicky Veach saying it herself, and I'm sure that it said in the screenshot text messages. I say it's a long time ago now, but I'm sure it was covered. And then down the line, Vicky ended up changing her story or changing her mindset, saying, no, it's not, all of a sudden. But in between that change, she was also saying that, oh my God, if that's my dad, if that's Kenny, my dad, he's going to get in trouble with the police. Oh no. So, as I said, I've previously covered it in previous videos. Might have to look back at it at some point if necessary. Just let me know your thoughts down below. Was there any contradictions with that information in general? Anything that needs to be added or corrected? You're welcome to do so. Of course, this is a mystery and it's still open to this day, but I'm sure along the way, a form of research and progression has been made in areas, or at least there's been evidence that's been found with time to suggest this or to maybe reinforce that. And I do think it does get forgotten quite often when it comes to these news articles, and most definitely most YouTubers out there, the big ones. And I know the Y-Files did their coverage with a much more research and references and giving credit, which is good, but they didn't include my research from what Susan Veach passed on with that phone call made from Kenny Veach on his Facebook page. Unfortunately, that was forgotten about once again. But, you know, I've come to that understanding that I am a ghost. My channel is a ghost. Only so many people will hear about the information and updates on cases. The rest may never know the truth. And it's unfortunate, but there's only so much I can do. And YouTube themselves, how they present the videos out there. Like, the only other way to help to spread the word and message is to like and share these videos and interact in the comment section for that engagement. YouTube seem to push videos out there that have better engagement and activity and interaction on the channel. But at the same time, you shouldn't feel forced to do any of that. You just interact when you do have a point or comment or you want to add on from previous discussions down below in the comment section. As well, I don't know if I said it at the start of this video, but down below in the comment section, there'll be a pinned comment with some additional links if you want to check that out. And as well, top right corner of the screen, eye symbol, click on that. You'll have the playlist to Kenny Veach and some additional videos too to catch up on. I said this is kind of like a little series, a little introduction first of all, so you could see what Susan Veach had to say. If you just joined late, rewind back to the start so you see that message by her officially, and how we can move into the next coverage next time round, bit by bit, right? It's done bit by bit, so it's a bit easier to follow along. And those news articles today was just to kind of set the story back out there, part of it at least, set in motion, and to, you know, enable new viewers on my channel who are not quite familiar with the Kenny Veach case to learn as we go along, right? Because it is hard to jump in at the deep end. I can be a bit rusty at times if I've been away from a case for some time. Hopefully this coverage was done somewhat okay and you enjoyed the video. Be sure to look out for the next one. I don't know if I'll be doing it every day or one or two every day, right? Breaks in between, just so all the material is gathered and collected and there's no disruption or confusion with, you know, the material, because there's bits and bobs all over the place and it just needs to be organised in the correct order. So just be on the lookout for the next video. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Goodbye. Good night for now.